Hello and welcome to the final part of Exit Strategies for Language Service Providers series. In this part, we will be discussing how to maximize the value of your business and deciding who should sell your company. As we discussed, sooner or later, you're going to want or may need to get out of your business. If your strategy is to eventually sell your business, you need to understand how potential buyers might value your language business. The more attractive you can make it to the buyer, the better chances are you're going to get a higher valuation for your business. And by preparing your business now, you'll be able to identify and fix any challenges or weaknesses that could derail a potential sale or cause the buyer to offer you less money. You'll also be better off by being prepared to highlight and discuss the unique strengths of your business to any potential buyer. There are things you can do to get your business deal ready for a sale. Even if that day is years down the road, the time to prepare for a sale is way before you put the company on the market or well in advance about you thinking to leave. While you may not be able to address every potential issue that you have, hopefully there's not a lot, the sooner you begin, the more you'll be able to accomplish. It's not uncommon to begin a pre-sale planning evaluation a year or two in advance of even putting your business on the market or thinking about a potential sale. Even if you eventually decide not to sell, working on these long-term issues to become more profitable and helping streamline efficiencies, your language business will benefit from that. Let's review what you should focus on to maximize the value of your language business. Your accounting records and financial statements must be kept up to date and organized. Income statements, balance sheets, cash flow statements, and tax returns for sure definitely need to be kept for a minimum of 3 years. Unfortunately, many LSP owners are not very good at record keeping, and consequently the potential buyer and his team may have to reconstruct some critical records. And this is important because they have to verify the information about the business in every possible way. High quality bookkeeping reduces the risk in a deal and also says a lot about how your business is being run. Having a set of clean, easily auditable books inspires confidence and helps during the due diligence and negotiation process and will help you increase the value of your business. Trying to sell a business with incomplete financial records is like selling a house with a leaky roof. It creates a poor first impression, warns a buyer that there might be other problems to look out for, and provides a rationale for the buyer to reduce their offer price. It might be a good idea to begin auditing yourself, right? Going through the audit process, looking for any red flags you need to fix. Without the strong oversight of an outside accounting firm, faulty accounting processes could result in misleading information to your buyer, and that's never good, either too high or too low. Articulating and demonstrating future growth potential of the business, tracking and forecasting sales, and having a strong competitive position are extremely important in increasing increasing value to potential buyers. As a general rule, most buyers want to acquire a business that will continue to grow. They want to see how will your business expand over the next 3 years. Where are you getting new sales from? You need to be able to share your growth strategy and realistic projections for revenue and income over a 3-year period with your prospective buyer. An LSP with recurring revenues that are generated from multi-year contracts will sell for a much higher valuation model than an LSP that has transactional revenue. A LSP that has 75% or more of their revenue from clients with contracts will receive a higher valuation than a LSP that handles clients on a project-by-project basis or quotes or very transactional. The key is to increase your percentage of recurring revenue by switching these transactional customers into long-term contracts. And this is what I've been talking about, not only in this series, but in other webinars and other presentations that we've given. You need to have a clearly defined niche. Your language business must be the best it can be and best at what it does without trying to be everything to everyone. A company that knows its customer segments, understands their needs, speaks their industry vernacular, and knows how to solicit a response from them is a lot more valuable than one that's going after everybody in every opportunity in all different verticals. There's no value there. You need to know your customers. This may sound elementary to some, but I'm always surprised to learn how many LSPs don't have a detailed client profile. You need to know your clients, discovering why your clients buy from you, developing a profile of your existing customer base definitely helps potential buyers identify your strengths, also your weaknesses, but also lets them know how they can increase their sales and in what areas more effectively. As a business owner, you need to know all of this. You need to know your customers. You need to know, is your customer base changing? Is it growing? Is it shrinking? What does the composition of your customer base look like? Who are your target customers? What is their corporate and demographic profile? How do your clients perceive your company? What do clients want your business to do for them? What needs are they meeting or satisfying or pains that they're helping by using your services? And how frequently do they purchase from you? Are there buying patterns by client to client? And are they loyal? Is there a high attrition rate? Are they using you or other LSPs and just giving you a percentage of their business? If so, what percentage of their business are you getting? And is it practical to say that you have a strategy in place, right, to attract new customers at a reasonable acquisition cost? How much does it cost you to bring on a new customer? And do you even know that? And the big thing is here, do you have a well-defined strategy to acquire new customers? If a significant percentage of your business comes from one client, you have what we call a customer concentration issue. This can present challenges in selling your business or even once you try to sell it, getting the right price for it. Because buyers are concerned about losing revenue if they lose these key customers. It drastically drives the value of your company down to have all your eggs in one or two baskets. When trying to address or resolve customer concentration issues, consider developing incentives for your customers to stay on board. Helping them with some pricing, maybe for a long-term contract to sign, is a good incentive. But you need to look at ways to diversify your client base. And equally, you need to know your competitors. Do you know their products, their pricing, who their customers are, what industries they focus on? How does your business differ from your main competitors? How does your market share compare to those competitors? Bear in mind that a prospective buyer is going to evaluate against them, right? You need to be prepared to talk about your competitors and how you compare to them. On the other hand, your competitors may in fact be your most attractive buyers. Your business may be attractive competitors if you can help them increase their market share, maybe provide some new products and services. Maybe you will help them expand into another industry or expand more into that industry. Maybe you have new technologies that are more efficient than what they're using today, and it's easier or less expensive for them to buy the company than it is to develop their own technologies. Maybe you have key employees, or there's something other strategic about your company that your competitors may be looking at. If you're thinking of a future sale, maintaining a positive presence within the industry so those competitors always see you is very important. And you do that, of course, by the obvious, attending certain trade shows, industry events. Those all help increase your visibility. But you can also talk about having some conversations with your competitors, right? Talk about what they're doing, what you're doing at a high level as much as you can with competitors, right? All these conversations will help fuel potential acquisitions in the future. And this is near and dear to my heart, of course. Keep your sales and marketing programs up to date. You need to keep a professional website that's up to date and functional with updated information. No one wants to look at your events page and see that you haven't updated anything since 2009. You would be surprised on how many companies do that, and it shows a lack of attention to detail, or the worst case, that you're not doing anything. Check your company's reputation in Google. What are people saying about you online? Where do you pop up in the search engines? Make sure there's nothing negative being said about you, your company, or your employees. You need to always monitor your business reputation online. Extremely important. And you have to have a solid sales strategy in place. Make sure your sales team is using technology to identify, research, contact, and track prospective clients. I'm a firm believer and a big fan of Salesforce.com, but there are several Salesforce automation tools out there. How effectively you attract customers equates to immense value in your business. A well-trained sales force is a tool that a buyer can count on to help in the transition and ultimately increase sales. And you have to document your growth strategy. You need to have a plan. A big part of your company's value is having a successful growth strategy. The fundamental premise of business valuation models that we use in buying and selling companies in our industry is that a company what we look at as the company's value at any given time is the present value of its future income stream, revenue, and EBITDA income. As a result, what the company has done in the past is not necessarily relevant in determining the company's value today or in the future. A business that has a strong or credible growth strategy to achieve new sales will always be more attractive to a buyer than a business that has experienced little to flat growth. Unfortunately, after initial successes, many small business owners become satisfied with maintaining the status quo. We talked about that in the last couple series. But they have to, they have to develop a strategic business plan to get them back on track. And having a strategic business plan and updating it regularly is one way to keep a focus on developing a new growth strategy or continuing with your current growth strategy. This process takes some time. It's going to cost you money, but the effort will bring you a higher value at the time of sales. If I say over and over, if it were easy, all 9,500 plus LSPs in this country would be doing that. It is challenging. It is hard work. It does take some investment. But in order for you to bring a higher value to your company, you need to have a growth strategy in place. And that does not happen without having a well-trained sales team. And at the very least, you need to have at least a 5% increase in sales year to year for the last 4 years. Even a small increase like 5% a year shows a completely different picture than one that is going backwards. If your sales are flat, lots of attrition, and or going down, your buyers are concerned. That's a red flag, and they are going to walk away from that deal. Now, I'm not a big proponent of going out and always buying the latest and greatest in technologies. But in order to growing and keeping up with your customer demands, you need to invest or at least upgrade your equipment to maintain certain level of efficiencies. And technology allows you to do this. Some business owners take the position that they don't want to invest in expensive technology if they're going to sell their company anyway. Why should I want to invest in all this if I'm just going to sell my business? However, the flip side of that argument is that by doing so, by investing in equipment or upgrading technologies, right, this may even bring a greater valuation because they're streamlining efficiencies, lowering the costs, increasing their EBITDA, and having a larger value. This is a big win for the seller. Interesting enough, I was also surprised to learn on how many companies are operating outside of compliance. It's important that your business stays compliant with all federal, state, and local laws and regulations before you start talking to buyers. You need to speak with your lawyer. You need to check with the Secretary of State. You need to make sure that everything from leases to registration with the state, your ISO, your EN certificates, whatever you have that has some type of compliance, you need to make sure that they're valid, up to date, and legal. You need to have all your corporate information in good order. You need to keep your business house straight. You need to have these documents such as articles of incorporation or your shareholder agreements or member agreements or partnership agreements, your bylaws, your business plan, your minute book, stock certificates, whatever you may have. You need to make sure they're all up to date, accurate, and compliant. Check to ensure that you have all these documents in one place for easy review. Or reach out to your attorney or have someone internally work on this for you. It's very important to have all this information in one area so when the time comes, you're not doing a fire drill to gather up all your important documents for the potential buyer. Make sure all your contracts and legal documents, right, are up to date. You don't want to have that become a problem. Check the terms and expiration dates on your contracts, on your relationship stuff, whether it be agreements with vendors, whether it's agreements with clients. Look for any clauses too that refer to change of ownership or assignment of contracts. Some agreements and some customers may not have a transferable clause that allows you to sell your business for them to maintain that relationship legally. Consider, for example, contracts with your clients, suppliers, distributors, right? Buy-sell agreements, everything that may have these clauses in there, you need to take a look at them. Make sure you understand where you are in dates and times, transferability, and ownership. Extremely important. And also, make sure that you are compliant with trademarks, patents if you have them. You need to make sure that your business is operating with compliant copyrights and patents. Make sure that you have all that in the right place. When you sell your company, you need to make sure that these are being sold and documented with your company. You need to make sure they're all transferable as well, or they could lose ownership with the company and kind of end up in limbo. And of course, this will also reduce the value of your business. And it's real important that make sure that your key employees are on board, because they will play a critical role in the ability to sell your business. A team of well-trained, highly motivated, experienced, and appropriately compensated employees sends a positive signal to the buyer. Not only that, but their body motion, and if they are interviewed by the potential buyer, which for key employees will definitely be the case, you need to make sure that they're able to articulate your strategy, understand what the growth plan is, understand if any hurdles that you've experienced, why you experienced those hurdles, and how you overcame those hurdles. Very important that your team is on the same page with you. And you need to make sure that you have all your records on your team in place. Make sure your key members have confidentiality and non-disclosure signed. If it's applicable, make sure that you have any non-compete agreements in place. Make sure all your documentation shows that all your people have a right to work in that state or in that country, in our country, right? If you outsource whatever you outsource to, whether it be project management or translators, make sure that you have all the legal documentation in place, including contracts, application, resumes, right? And all that in place to make sure that they are compliant and making sure that their legal status is accurate. You also want to make sure you have all your HR stuff up to date. You make sure you document performance issues. Make sure you have an employee policies and procedure manual in place. Make sure you've had all your key employees sign it and up to date in your HR files. You need to maintain very compliant employee records, and you need to make sure that they're well organized and readily available to share when that time comes. And as a part of that, if you haven't already done so, you need to have a clearly defined org chart that shows name, job functions, time in that position, time in the company, time in the industry. You need to make sure that's a part of not only their file, but also part of your business plan and how it fits in what their job description is. Having a thorough description of all employee job description, including yourself, is important for the potential buyer to see. Because a part of all this the buyer is going to want to be able to read and understand all of the functions of all the employees. Most importantly, keep in mind your key employees, right? Key employee departures would create a significant challenge for your business. And a buyer could back out and saying if you have three people that are very key to the efficiency of your company and they leave, well, now your company's not run very efficiently anymore. Some employees may also, use their position as leverage for raises, contracts, negotiate, all that, all the above. You need to make sure that they're well versed and they understand the opportunity and how it transfers. If you do have that key employee who enhances the business value, you need to make sure that you encourage that person to stay on board by offering a bonus. If you stay on board 2 years after the acquisition, that you get X number of dollars in a bonus. Very effective way to keep employees. And make sure your office looks good. As we represent clients who are currently going through an M&A process, and as I go into potential sellers' offices and I look at their office and how unorganized, or just how it's maybe needs to be painted, or the wallpaper's old in the bathroom, or little things like there's just a clutter feel. That's not a very good image that you want to portray to potential buyers. You need to make sure that you maintain a good, you have a good appearance and look organized. And of course, it goes without saying, here in the state of Georgia, we're required to publish in an area for all employees to see all the safety and workman's comp and labor issues. But beyond that, you need to make sure that you have a safe working environment. If even like little things like employee desk being messy with files and unfinished work, maybe you need to have a clean desk policy. Or you need to make sure that you maintain a clean environment. If you have any missing or broken signage or cracked windows or stuff that may be there, you need to make sure that's all tidied and organized, cleaned up. And also, you need to make sure that you look at your lease. This goes back to about the documentation part we discussed a few slides earlier, but you need to make sure your lease has any clauses see if your lease has any clauses for transferability. Most states have a landlord clause that allows landlords that they won't unreasonably withhold approval of a new tenant. However, bear in mind, your landlord's definition of reasonable may be different from yours. Check your lease, see if it expires, but also make sure to see if it has make sure it has a transferable clause that isn't open to judgment, right, or different ways of interpretation. And for those LSPs that focus on the translation process, this is where most of our clients and most of the industry is extremely strong. Having a well-documented process, QA process, everything from receiving a project to delivering a project, all the steps in between, you need to have that well-documented. And please don't take my screen and use it as the industry model. That is my own understanding of a lot of our processes in the industry, but it gives you an idea that you need to have a well-defined, documented process. Even when it comes to products, right, or technologies, you need to make sure you understand how they work, right? And you need to make sure that you document those systems and structures. You need to have training manuals in any technology that you may have. You make sure that there's a procedural manual for not the technologies but hardware. It's a big part to understand, but the ability to not only replace lost workers but also get them trained in a minimum amount of time is extremely important to the new buyer or to a buyer. You lose people who are well trained on your systems. How long is it going to take me to train the new people, and is this training well documented from you? And it goes without saying for me that I think that all of us, who are business owners or that have an equity position in the business or manage or lead a business need to conduct a business valuation at least every couple of years. I mean, in a lot of cases, when prospective buyers approach business owners, right, with unsolicited offers, the LSB has no basis for making a deal because they have never taken the time to determine what the value of their business is. Therefore, they just pick a number out of the air and think, oh, this is what my business is worth. Seeing what makes up the real value in your business might enable you to make decisions and operate more effectively. Be prepared to stay on after the sale and the transition we talked about before for a period of anywhere between 3 months to a year to help in this transition. Okay, this is very important because if you do a business valuation, and you can use different models, but they're all pretty close, right? They're all running somewhere in the area of 3 to 5 times the EBITDA earnings. And that's a real number, and that's something you can put your arm around and say, this is what my business is worth. Now you may have a 25% increase or decrease depending on your strengths and weaknesses, but that's the core value model. Start early, right? Take the steps we talked about here. Try to plan to sell your company. Remember that it takes time, preparation, and investment to get your company deal ready. Understanding what your company is really worth instead of having your head in the clouds on what you want it to be worth. Sure, you may have spent 5, 10, 15 years in building your business, but if it hasn't grown and it doesn't have a growth strategy and your earnings are lower than normal, your company is going to be worth substantially less than you hoped or thought it would be worth. So it's very important, if you take these steps listed in here, understand the valuation of your business, understand that you need to have a growth strategy, understand that your company's worth top line earnings, bottom line, EBITDA net income. That's the model that's being used for valuations, not just what you think it's worth, or because you have great technology, or because you have a large number of resources. They do not equate to bottom line money. Bankable income and growth is what will drive the value of your business. Now the question is, who should sell your business? A business broker, an investment banker, a friend, an employee? Here's some ideas to take a look at. The M&A market, as overheated as today's world, is no surprise that you're asking yourself, how much can I sell my company for? Can I sell it myself? What do I need to do to sell my company? Well, we talked about what you need to do and get your company prepared. But with so many decisions, right, to make, it all depends on circumstances. First, as we talked about, do you know how much your company is really worth? You need to find out. There are a lot of ways to find out where your business is today. You have appraisal companies, business brokers, industry consulting firms, attorneys. Right? You need to reach out to one of them. Otherwise, you risk underpricing the value of your company. Or, more times than not, overpricing the value of your company and discouraging potential buyers. Also, do you have a list of potential buyers? Depending upon your company's niche market, your prospects may be your competitors. Sometimes it could be suppliers or strategic partners or even customers. Don't cheat here. If you don't have a clue, you're better off relying on a professional, engaging in someone who does this for a living, who already has gone down this route, or maybe even a competitor who's also gone down this route. Then you need to ask yourself, what is your day-to-day like? This is almost a full-time job, right? Do you have the time and the resources? Selling your business will require incredible amounts of time, networking, webinars, mailings, lots and lots and lots of phone calls, lots of discussions. You need to keep your company moving, right? And you got to continue to work on your day-to-day. So you know in your heart if you or your staff will be able to do both. Don't try to do it if you don't think you can do it. Then you need to know, are you skilled And do you have the experience and knowledge to do it yourself? If you're articulate, passionate about your company, and most of all, not self-conscious about pitching your company for sale, then you have a good chance of doing that. But if you suspect that your emotions, emotional ties to your business, your fear of negotiation, or not knowing how to do any of the above will get in the way, you need to step aside. For business owners who conclude and know that they need some level of assistance to sell their company, and for those owners who know what they want and know that they need some level of assistance to sell their business, there are generally three ways you can do this. A business broker that may not have an understanding of the industry, industry consultants, or investment bankers for larger companies who are potentially trying to take their company public. In some cases, real estate brokers in some states allow them to do that, but typically you need to have someone who understands the industry and the efficiencies and the ebb and flow of what makes our industry tick. Business brokers are like real estate agents for businesses. They list your company, they do an evaluation, they do a valuation, they list that, they cross that with potential buyers, and their approach is very much the same as that in the real estate world. Unfortunately, they have a very limited understanding of our business and therefore have a very limited understanding of the potential buyer. Investment bankers, well, there are only a handful of companies looking to go public here in the next 3 or 4 years, right? So, I mean, investment bankers are maybe the only significant option for selling a large private company go public. And as we talked about in previous sessions, that basically it's taking your company, selling your equity to the street at market value through shares. The investment bank then writes you a check less 10%, and it's a great way to make a ton of money. Then there's the last way is understanding working with industry consultants who understand your business, understand technologies, understand how to integrate, how to connect. You know, they're a great resource for helping you find the right buyer, potential buyers, to make sure they place you at neither the person who can afford to pay it has the right checkbook, but also those companies will be a good fit. And with that, that concludes our final session for exit strategies for LSPs. Because of the large number of attendees that we have today, instead of opening it up for live questions that may linger on for a lot, we want to keep this under 45 minutes. So if you would send me your questions to my email address, which is rreyes@latitudescoach.com. I will get back to you promptly. What we're going to do, what we haven't done so far, is that we're going to list all the questions that we received from each of the previous 3 sessions, and we're going to send those out and publish those along with the questions from today. So with that said, thank you very much again. I hope that we brought some value and information to help you in understanding how to value your company, how to position your company for a potential sale, and understanding the process thereof. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.